Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our meeting this evening on the beach issue, which, as we know, has been pretty active this summer in regards to issues going on. We have people zooming in as well, and so format of the evening is going to be like this. This side of the red ribbon is considered a workspace for us, and so we can be without masks, plus we have to have these things between us. So that meets the policy for us to have a workspace. That side is the public space, which is you need the mask. When you come up and speak, take your mask off at the microphone. You'll speak, and then you can put your mask on and go. You'll see the green things there, 6 feet apart while you're waiting, and then you'll go around the back to try to keep the distance. We're trying to do this as properly as we can to meet the provincial guidelines and policies for COVID. We're going to do questions from here first, and then we'll go to the Zoom people. There's 18, I believe, on standby, so this could be, a fairly lengthy meeting. What I want to do to reduce the length of that meeting is we're going to give you only 5-6 minutes at the most on the microphone. I'll go like this. You have 1 minute left. Okay, I'll give you 1 minute left, and then at that mark, I will cut you off because we could have 25, 30 people here wanting to speak tonight, so it could be hours and hours. Secondly, to help make it more efficient, we're going to, if it's the same information over and over and over, we're going to ask that you concise that, and if you have new information, great. If it's the same thing, we already have heard that, and we'd like to move the meeting forward and progress. So that's how we're going to do there. At the microphone as well, we'll need your name and address because it is official meeting. We do have to have that information. It is being streamed live, as you know, and it will be on the website as all our official meetings. And the Zoom people out there who are all over the place, when we get to the Zoom part of it, please electronically raise your hand, and we'll keep track of the order that way. We don't have a screen this way, so I apologize in advance. We're going to have to turn our backs to you to turn and watch the screen, so to see the Zoom people speaking, or any other things that are up on the screen. So just the way it is. The staff did a great job setting this up today. I was in earlier and nothing, and I come back 2 hours later, and wow, they had it all done. So kudos to staff. Okay, so this meeting of September 23rd, 7 p.m. is called to order. Is there any disclosure of interest pecuniary in nature? Okay, seeing none, we move on to, we're going to do a presentation first of all, and we'll show you some slides and show you where we're at on this. And I'll speak during the slides. Okay. Next. So on the agenda, obviously, as you can read, publicly owned beaches. We, the council, are only responsible for and only can be responsible for beaches that we own. That's an important fact right there. We can only be responsible for beaches that we own. We're going to talk about the publicly owned access points, privately owned ones, what happened in 2020, the past experience, and then we're going to get into the discussion of the evening and what happened this past summer. So, okay, so there's 5 beaches. You'll see the township of Wainfleet owns 1 beach. Reeves Bay is the only beach that we legally own and have any authority to do anything with. The rest is Niagara Region and then the NPCA. So that again is an important component of this evening, is to understand who owns what and who is responsible for what and who has authority in what area. So that's an important point right there. Okay. But in addition to our beach, we have 17 road allowances. And as everybody I'm sure knows, the road allowances are 66 feet wide, and they go down to the lake. Those road allowances, not to be confused with calling them a beach, because they're not technically a beach, they are a road allowance. So, as it says, they were laid out in the 1800s when they were laying the grid system here for all the roads. The Augustine road allowance that goes down to the beach there runs, I think it's true north, and was put in place, over 100 years ago. And it was simply an extension of the road, and that's all it was. 66 feet, and we have some down at the border with Haldeman that are split down the middle. We own half, they own half. So again, an important part, and also part of the complexity of dealing with this is some of these have 2-3 different angles in regards to ownership or who has say over what, so it makes it even more complicated. But the ones within Wainfleet are very straightforward. So again, and we've done research on this. We have researched the heck out of this. Will, our CAO, has gone into all the legal stuff with it. We've gone into history of it, and we know for a fact that we legally own one beach, and we have 17 road allowances. Everything else is privately owned. Everything. So when I get the emails and the phone calls this summer, like by the dozens that we were getting, many times they were citing issues on areas that we had no authority to do anything. So of course that makes it challenging when you don't have any authority to have our bylaw officer go down there and do anything. We can't do anything. It's illegal for us to do that. Being a township, we're obviously bound by the law. We're not bending the law. We're going to follow the rules, and that works because you don't need your township being sued for doing something wrong and end up paying out, a couple $1 million for a lawsuit. So it's really important that we follow the rules. So of all the beaches, we're going to focus in on Augustine Road access and that beach that goes there, because that seems to be the one this summer that we had the most activity, the most complaining about, and legitimate complaints. I totally, some of the emails I got, I went, you're kidding, has humanity actually stooped that low? Some of the stuff that I read, I was just shocked. But again, the position for us to do things is limited to the land that we own. So on the map there, you can see, for anyone who's not sure, there we are. Augustine Road access is there. So going this way from here, that's 66 feet wide. Coming this way, privately owned. Going that way, privately owned. All the activity that I received complaints about, phone calls about, generally was this whole long stretch. And Mr. Goodwillie came and presented to council, and we heard the issues. But it's all privately owned. As well, I know for a fact we had people just walking through everybody's property to get down to that beach. Again, privately owned. And there's the stretch of beach again to the west, that most desirable beach that everybody loves to go to from all over. Again, so there it is to the east. So the history, 5 years ago, council worked with the committee and tried to fix this. Of note, we spoke to somebody at that meeting in 2015 that had said the problems that are today have been going on since in the 1940s. So extensive history and the same things, urinating, defecating, everything. So 74 years. For sure, excuse me. And so that's when, after the summer we had, I said, hey, you know what, let's get everybody together here and see if we can't figure out some way to deal with this problem. And so here we are today. So any more slides, Will? And the last point there, yeah, we received $1,000 to deal with that issue. We did put up, as many of you know, we put up signs. We put up snow fence, it got burned. We put up signs, they got pulled down. We've put up no parking signs, they got ripped away. Everything that we've been trying to do to assist the residents down there has met with the crime of mischief, which is a police matter. So, but it's costing us lots of money in signs and time, and our staff have to go down there, 2 people for 3 or 4 hours putting up things, and they're, you know, that's all calculated in on the amount of money that we spend on that. So, any more, Will? All right, I've already said that. All right, I don't want to talk too long. The key point being, you know, as I said, private land versus what we own. And so I want to open it up to the floor right away. We're looking for solutions, okay? We can come up and complain all night about what happened. I know what happened. I pretty well have been told by just about everybody down there who's had an issue, has emailed me or phoned me. So we know the issues. Briefly touch on that if you want to, but we're really looking for some idea here how to fix this problem. And, you know, we're not so cocky as to think that after 75 years of this problem, we're going to fix it tonight, okay? That's another thing here. The thing I think that we need to take away from this meeting tonight is that the problem is a bit complex for everybody, and can we work together and come up with a solution that works? And you know what? There's probably no perfect solution, but if everybody has a say in the solution and has their input, it maybe next year will be much more manageable. So that's what we're trying to achieve here tonight, and we may have to have another meeting another time, you know, next spring or whatever. So I invite you up to the microphone now, please, and you can, once you get up, you can take your mask off, state your name and your address, please. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
Tippy toes.
For height.
I'm too short, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
First, I want to thank you for having this meeting tonight. My name is Jeanette Marchand. My address is 12114 Slater Boulevard. I've owned a cottage only for 5 years, but I'm quite familiar. I kind of grew up Ridgeway, Crystal Beach, so okay. Lake Erie is my thing. I live in Port Dalhousie, but I come to Lake Erie. Go figure, right? I know you have all kinds of problems, and you've heard them all. I'm going to just tell you a couple that I noticed. I'm a retired nurse, so safety was huge for me this summer for my family. A couple things that really bothered me was mothers removing kids' diapers and taking them to the lake and swishing dirty bums. I had a girl 6 feet away from me bring her dog, and he started to squat, and I'm going, get him out of the water. It's easy to pull the dog. She let him defecate right by my feet. Ran and got the mother 10 minutes later. I have a picture here of, this was interesting, August 23rd. A hookah pipe that was 3.5 feet high, a group of people smoking it. I went down the beach because there was this loud, big cloud, and I thought it was a fire. And there's a group of people, actually there was 2 of them on the beach. It was quite interesting. I know it's legal, but pretty inappropriate for little kids digging sand and being blown away. Anyways, some possible solutions. I have a few. Proper signage that depicts the exact 66 feet, and I know you're working on that. A website to inform visitors that there only is 66 feet at that site, and updating about the beach, the dangers. Public beach capacity for that spot, like figure out a number that fits there, and that's all we let on the beach, because once that's full, they're automatically going to spill over to private. The way to do that would be, I know you don't want to hear this, but paid staff at the boardwalk to inform the public of the access limit. Say there's 100, sorry, we've reached the 100. To offset paid staff, possibly charging a $5 a person fee to get on the beach or $20 for a family. That's a pretty good deal, seeing how the Long Beach Resort is charging $35 a day for a day pass to get on the beach. And that staff maybe could be checking bags for alcohol. Alcohol wasn't as big a deal as everything else. Preventing propane-powered cooking appliances. I saw barbecues, corn roasters, and even a family behind me had an oil fryer and was frying chicken, not 3 feet behind my chair. Made me really hungry, but I was kind of worried about the little kids running around in bathing suits and a possible burn or something. Like, it's a beach access. It's not a park. It's not a camp. Signage to inform of the undertow. This was huge this summer. In 2 weeks, we pulled out 5 people, all out-of-towners. They were pulled out by local people and their visitors. Not even a thank you. And I ran around, when the undertow's really high and the kite surfers are out, my family isn't going. But I go down to check it out, and I spent the whole day telling people, oh my God, do you know there's undertow? Oh my God, did this all day. I started to get PTSD. I started going home. I didn't even go to the beach on busy days, like high wind, because people don't listen. They don't know Mother Nature, right? So maybe a flag or something that would say hi. I know we used to have signs, something that depicts undertow. Alternate beaches, I don't know, heard via the grapevine, maybe Lakewood Camp's opening. We could send them there. We were trying to send them to the conservation park, but it's pretty little. When they asked, we'd say, no, this is closed, go over there, go here. I said, as paid parking was part of the problem, maybe these businesses could also be part of the solution. Maybe they could provide a toilet facility. Johnny on the spot, I know there's one. It's pretty far. Most people don't know it's there. They would ask us all day, where do you go to the bathroom? Go up the boardwalk, you know. Anyways, then they could maybe educate them about the beach. It's a windy day. And then when they reach the limit at the beach access, then tell these people, stop taking parking, right? We've reached 100. Don't let anybody else park. And signage that encourages people and visitors to leave the beach as they find it. They leave garbage. I want to thank the council for having extra garbage pickup. That young man who came Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I saw him, worked hard, would go down the road and pick up all the stuff that blew into people's driveways, and I thanked him every time I saw him. But I mean, that was a huge cost to the city, right? I mean, that, in 4 days of garbage, they put out more garbage than I do an entire season here. I put out very little garbage, and I was like appalled. They left barbecues and boats, and you could almost furnish your cottage with the stuff they leave. Okay. Anyways, signage that encourages people to leave the beach as it was. They dig holes. Twice this summer, I stepped in a hole at sunset and twisted an ankle. If you're going to come to the beach, respect it. Leave it the way you found it. Thank you.
So just to comment on that, there's a lot of obviously valid points there. One of the filters that we use, we've talked about just about every option we can here, how to address a lot of these issues. And is don't forget, we're only dealing with that 66-foot wide little swath, and it's only, it's not very long. It's no bigger than this room right here, in fact. This room is a very nice kind of measure of what is sitting there space-wise. So because it's not a beach, it's not a township beach, we must be careful also in how much of the taxpayers' money we spend in that little area there, right? So hiring staff to work there to look after a 66-foot beach may not be the most prudent thing to do for all the taxpayers in Wainfleet. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying those are the things that we have to look at and measure. We did discuss that this year. CAO and I, myself, have had a number of conversations about how to address this issue. Signage, for sure. In fact, we did put the signs up. I think they got torn. We put up snow fence, gone. So, yeah, it's challenging. So those are all great points. We, again, don't have control over people who are in the rest of the private area, trespassing, illegally trespassing. If they're doing things down there they shouldn't, that's a police matter. And don't forget, too, and this is true, I've seen this, everybody has a different measuring stick on what's acceptable in life. Lots of people will come to the beach, and they call it beach day. And when you talked about the cooking and all that sort of things, I have a friend who is a new Canadian, and I respect this person immensely. And he said when they go to the beach, it's a family day at the beach. And they take food, and they take coolers, and they take that. And it's a whole, 10, 15 of them are there. And it's a different approach to going to the beach than what we're used to. And so that's one of the things that we also have to consider, is that, everybody thinks a little differently about how things are done. So, and what they're doing is not wrong. Again, it's on a private beach. If it was our beach, we might have signs, no cooking, no this, no that, but we don't have that. So, okay. Name and address, please.
My name's Patricia Grew, 12135 Augustine Road. I have a number of things that I think tie into what Jeanette's saying, but I hear that road allowance, we shouldn't be advocating to sell beach there. We don't really have a big space. Like if those businesses that are on Lakeshore Road are selling parking to our backyards, because I own waterfront, I don't think that's logical. There's, those businesses don't provide bathrooms. They're not just doing their business, which is the Hungry Putter or the 905, which would be jet ski rentals or, the food or the mini pots. There's one business there that's not even open, and they're selling parking. So obviously we've got no control on numbers of how many people are coming. I doubt, when I go to a restaurant now under stage 2 and stage 3 COVID rules, I have to give my name and my address. I doubt any one of those people took names or addresses. So that's another huge issue. And I don't suspect, the way that things are going right now, that we're going to have a vaccine by next summer. So I think we really need to have something implemented with the view that we're going to be still operating in a pandemic, because we certainly were not at that point this year. So I think those businesses, I don't know how, I am assuming they get business permits to run those business permits. Is their business permit for rentals of skis, or is it to sell parking to people to use that beach? So that is a question that I have on what their business permits are. Are they filing with Revenue Canada for all the income that they receive? The other thing that is a concern to me, and I'm not sure how it goes, I've been doing a little research myself with Port Dover, and it's the safety of the jet skis. The jet skis, the rules are 100 feet from shore. I don't think they're maintaining that. I see the jet skis are out past dusk, which they're not supposed to be without lights. They come close to the fishermen. I've seen them swamp a fisherman. They're out having fun, but I don't know what their education is. I don't know their licensing. According to my research, they have to have 2 licenses to operate a jet ski. According to the, I think it's PCW or whatever, the Watercraft Rules of Canada. Yeah, so they do the one, and then I don't know if it's the owner that has it, but I don't know what kind of training they have. I don't know if they understand where they're allowed to go, because they seem to want a grandstand in front of those beachgoers. So the safety of those boats is the #1 concern. And if you think you're worried about what's going to happen, if some of those people get their head sheared off by a jet ski that comes too close, Wainfleet hasn't seen anything yet. That's serious. And I'm not over dramatizing it. This year I was traumatized. I had a man laying at the bottom of my stairs crying. I thought he drowned. I was asking him if he wanted any help. His daughter had gone missing on the beach, and he thought she was lost. Jeanette was speaking to those undertow situations. And we really have to, I know it's not your responsibility to be out there providing lifeguards, etc., but I think that if we minimize the number of people that are going to that beach, and it's for the people that live there only, then we wouldn't have these issues. We wouldn't have the out of town. And as this year, what we experienced, and I don't know if it'll happen next year, we saw Fort Erie. They shut down their beaches to the locals, Crystal Beach. Port Colborne then did it, and so everybody came this way. And certainly we have acknowledged that we don't even have beaches, so I don't know how these people all ended up here. So those are, I didn't present you with any solutions, but frustrations.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Patricia. A couple of issues there, and we did talk about those. The jet ski issue, again, falls under the jurisdiction of the police. The Marine unit is responsible there. That's a federal or is it provincial? I'm not sure. Amber, actually, you know. Jet skis? Yeah, it falls under the Navigable Waters Act, which can be enforced by federal or provincial, but not us. So again, it's just people being reckless. And I believe, if I remember correctly, anything under 2 hours, you don't need a permit license, I think is what I was told.
Always get full training and a license, always, before every single rental. You're constantly out there screaming at people.
Oh, okay. Just hang on, everyone. Hang on. Yeah, because you have to come to the mic for that. So, no, it's my... Okay, the other thing too, and Patricia, you spoke to it, the residents-only beach. That's illegal, black and white. You cannot prohibit any person living in Canada from attending a public area, period. It's against the Charter of Rights. I know for a fact Port Colborne put restrictions, Fort Erie did. There are lawsuits already, class action lawsuits being done now. So I knew that ahead of time, because you can't segregate any group of people from going anywhere because of any reason, their color, their race, where they live, anything. It's against the Charter of Rights. You just can't do it. We discussed that early when that actually came up, speaking with one of the other mayors, and they were saying, we're looking at doing that. I said, you can't do that. It's illegal.
I thought they did it.
Excuse me, just because we have to have the mic, right? They did it, but I know for a fact they're now concerned there's a class action lawsuit being formed, and they will win. That they're going to pay big money for that because they broke the Charter of Rights. So we negated that, and we protected the township by not doing that, and so there will be no class action lawsuit against Wainfleet because we didn't break the Charter of Rights. So like it or dislike it, that's the Canadian Charter of Rights. Has to be done that way. And so I knew that when I read, because where I worked in my life before, I knew right away. I thought, you can't do that. And they went ahead and did it, and they may end up paying a little bit for it. So that's that. Jet skis, navigable waters. The parking is an issue for sure. We're working on that. We closed some of the Braun Road down, put up parking signs there in an effort to reduce the parking and the numbers of people attending our 66-foot wide road allowance. The rest of that whole beach, again, it's privately owned. We don't have any say on what goes on that 66 feet, or that outside that 66 feet. So, okay, who else would like to speak?
Thanks, Mayor.
Name and address, please.
Yep, my name is Dan Augustine. I live on 12150 Gallinger Street in Wainfleet, Ontario. And I put together an email. This is before this meeting was scheduled, but I think it's appropriate. All I want to do is read it. I sent this email note to Dean Allison, who's our MP, Sam Osterhoff, our MPP, Kevin Gibson, our mayor, Donna Cridland, our councilperson, Jim Bradley, our chair at Niagara Region, and Sharma from NPCA. And it's titled Issues at Long Beach, Wainfleet. I am aware of Wainfleet Township Council attempting to deal with overcrowding at Long Beach. Factors attributing to this situation may include hot weather and high water level, therefore less beach. Certainly people have the right to enjoy our beaches and Lake Erie, one of the great lakes. And I am honored to live near this beach most of my life. I have two suggestions that may alleviate this situation. And Mayor, you asked for solutions.
Yes.
Not problems. And this may be a partial solution. But the background, and when you put that spreadsheet of the beaches that we do own, the third one is Lakewood Camp. Okay? We own it. NPCA owns a section of it. Okay? But the background, this is directly east from Long Beach, Lakewood Camp. This property includes approximately 50 acres with a beautiful sandy beach. Easter Seals owned and operated this camp for about 50 years, plus or minus. In 2005, Easter Seals sold the camp to a developer after the township stated they did not have resources to purchase the property, which I understand. It could be millions of dollars, and that could be 15 years ago. The developer has been given approval to build 41 luxury condominiums on that beach, or at that property, after 12 years of discussions, zone changes, OMB appeals, and the township placed 61 conditions to move forward. So far, no building permits have been given yet, I believe, but the old buildings have been demolished and minor site preparation has occurred. Approximately 6 years ago, NPCA was able to procure 15 acres of the original 50 acres, which includes 519 feet of beachfront. Lakewood Camp, 519 feet. We've owned for 6 years that we own, 519 feet. So suggestion number one, NPCA should immediately develop their 15 acres with a 519 feet beachfront for the people, not just for a few cottage owners, but for the people. No visible activity to develop this property at this beach is deplorable. It's been sitting there for 6 years, and we've done nothing. NPCA should give this highest priority. That's suggestion number one.
Okay, down to 1 minute.
All right, I'll get going. Suggestion number two. I'm suggesting a collaborative initiative of federal government, provincial government, the region of Niagara, NPCA, and the township. 5 levels of government that we have. 5. That money goes to these 5 levels of government. And they should purchase the balance of the 35 acres and develop the entire property for the people. If this initiative could provide proper parking, washrooms, showers, picnic tables, possibly fast food restaurant, I believe our facility could easily become one of the world's best beaches.
Okay.
I've seen similar beaches like at Grand Bend in Ontario, and I've seen a beautiful beach in Madeira Beach in Florida as well. This time, if you want to go see it, I'll go with you, Kevin.
Okay, we're done, Dan. You're over time now. So we got your
okay.
2 solutions. I'm going to speak to them.
And I would just say I got a couple of responses. Donna, you responded, and Sharma from NPCA. But I did not hear from any of the others. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dan. So my understanding, and we do have knowledgeable people in here about Lakewood, there are those condos are being built, 61 conditions are being worked on, they are being met. He's slowly getting to the point where they're all going to be completed. So the remaining acres are privately owned. The NPCA portion on the east side is, I believe, fowler toad habitat is what they protected for the fowler toad. And that they're not going to be developing that because they put a lot of work into protecting that area, from what I understand. Donna, you can speak to that, please?
Thank you, through you, Mayor.
Donna sits on the NPCA board, so she's...
Well, and it's extremely fresh, so just the last meeting, so maybe 5 days ago at the NPCA, again, with all the things changing under the COVID recovery, again, nothing's firm, nothing's happened, but the CAO in light of, the letter and what was also brought up in council, and of course the CAO came to us in council earlier. That is one of the projects identified that is potential. So you are correct about the limitedness of its development, but in terms of green space, that is on the development plan for the NPCA should these other conditions start to come to play. But again, very, very early stages through the partnerships that have been formed over these last couple of months. So maybe a turn there for us on that property.
Okay, thank you very much. And just in regards to that, and I'm not going to give any details, but we've had a preliminary talk with MPCA about a couple of places because it's going to be an ongoing problem, beach access. As time goes on, more people come here, it gets hotter summers, people are going to need places to go. And so we are working on that. We've asked the NPCA to come up with some ideas, and that's where it is right now. Total infancy. We just had that meeting last week. So, okay, so thank you very much, Dan. Yeah, that's, I looked at that. Wouldn't that be a fantastic regional park? Yes, it would. I actually discussed that with recreation people at the region as part of my regional, and they said, no, we don't have money for that. So that's where that ended up. They weren't interested at all. So it's privately owned. And the NPCA is looking at doing what they can do on the other side, on the east side. So, okay, next speaker, please.
Wait till I fix my hearing aids. Larry Fisher, 12156 Walnut Hill Road. Just a couple issues. One is I'm not sure if everybody here realizes that under the Walnut Hill plan that was established in 1920, I'm not sure if it was before that, but I think the one was 1920, revised in 1924, that I had put in my one submission to the township, I put J.D. Augustine, but I think it was J.W. Augustine. He made sure that everybody who bought in that subdivision in their deeds had access to the beach. I'm not sure if everybody here realizes that, but I wouldn't be in favor if I had to pay to go down to the beach when I already have the rights according to my deed to go down there. The other thing was, I just wonder what the position is on Sandell Road, the access that was there. If you look at the 1920, 1924 plan, Sandell Road went all the way from Lakeshore to Augustine. And I believe there's an issue there as to who owns that rights and what has taken advantage by some people by trying to take some of that property.
Yeah, I can speak to both those, Larry. Thank you very much. So in part of doing our in-depth research to speak from a position of pure knowledge and lawfulness, we did find the document that's on the east side of our road allowance is in fact part of that development, the Walnut Hill, done in 1920, I guess, back in then. And it says right on that document for use by the residents of all that little area. So we have that. So that is, it's privately owned technically by that development there in the 20s. And so, that you have access to it. Nobody's going to, no one's going to, unless amongst your own organization you decide to charge a fee to walk down to your own beach. I don't think that's going to happen. And you have to come back up to the mic, Larry. Yeah, please.
I'm just saying that not everybody in the Walnut Hill plan is a member of the association. They don't have to be a part of the association, but I know they have a sign up there that talks about the property owners association have that access. Their signs, restricted access, yeah. But it's technicalities as far as the words. Yeah, the landowners own it, but not the association.
Yeah, and so even if they're not a member of the association, they still have their little chunk of share of that beach as deeded to them when they bought that piece of property down there in the back, 100 years ago. So, and that won't change. We have no say over that. We don't want any say over that. That is a intent by the Augustine family to make sure that those people can have access to that beach there. That's their private beach. And so that's one of the, to the east of our road allowance, that's what we speak about when it's private beach. If you want to put a fence up to keep people from coming in there as an association or a group, you can do that. It's your beach. So that's that. So the second part, Sandal Road, Mr. Augustine came to me. Yeah, I was just going to say it's in the court. Yeah, Sandal Road it's into the court system right now and got sidelined because of COVID. But we've been working on that for quite a while. But COVID has caused a problem there. So, go ahead, please.
My name's Helen Hoskin. I live.
Helen.
Sorry, wrong thing. My name's Helen Hoskin. I live at 12154 Gallinger Road. I'm Dan's next door neighbor. The sign you're speaking about, I made it. I made the signs this year for the restriction of the beach on the one side. Your snow fence got burnt down. I brought down my own personal snow fence and put it up. And I apologize if you're offended by the wording on the sign, but it worked. That sign worked. I can correct it. I have no problem with that. I lived in the area for 31 years. You've had my letters. I've sat on numerous committees for the beach. My personal issue, when I wrote to you in my letter, you put no parking signs all the way down all those side roads. The one sign I needed you to put up was on the laneway, Erie Street. It's not even a double road. You missed the mark there. That sign has to go up. When I first got the no parking signs put up in that whole, it was me that started it, that whole division with the no parking signs. It was due to people parking on both sides of that laneway on Erie Street and my neighbor down at the other end needing an ambulance. We couldn't get an ambulance down there. I came home twice from grocery shopping. And I had to back up once all the way to Lakeshore because someone would have let me get up Erie Street when I was on my way up. The second time, I just parked my car and got really rude and walked to my house. It is imperative. You missed the mark by not putting that one sign. My letter was about one sign and the rest, your statistics about the number of people from Toronto this year. There is a website for Toronto and it's explicitly tells you where they can park, and I gave you the statistics of the number of cars that were from Toronto for 3 weekends. When you went and talked to the people on the other side of that beach, they came to this beach because they couldn't get up to St. Clair, they couldn't get to Wasaga Beach, they couldn't because they got closed down to residents only. And I know you're protecting the township. But we're going to be having a bigger issue again next year because they found paradise. I managed to get that side, the one side of the beach. We're pretty good. The residents are like Hitler. You belong here? No, that side. But it's not good on that side for the other people. You've said it's private property. We need to figure out a solution past the 66 feet of the township. How do we stop that from happening? It used to be only going on 5 cottages. Mm-hmm. This year it went all the way from the beach entrance all the way to Long Beach Resort. And it was wall-to-wall people from Toronto. We've got a problem coming up next year. I don't suspect we're going to get out of this COVID. We need to find a solution. And I know you say it's private property, but when we talk to the policing, and I used to sit on neighborhood policing, the police said to us, please don't put up signs. It's the only way we can ticket. So we need the town council to be able to say to the police department, yes, it's private property, and if they put up signs, you gotta respect it. But the police can't ticket on private property. So
Okay.
that's the dilemma there.
Thank you. So, the policing, ticketing, it depends. Criminal offenses, it doesn't matter where you are. You commit a criminal offense, the police can action that. So that doesn't hold water, that part of it. Provincial offenses are different, alcohol consumption, those sorts of things. Yeah, that is an issue. Again, I don't know how we're going to separate our beach from the private beach. Like, we're looking for solutions. You know, that's Erie. Also, Helen, the Erie Road sign there. Okay, that's a great point. We're going to make a note of that, and we'll make sure that that gets looked after for you, because every road has to be passable for fire trucks, ambulance. That's imperative. So that was just a miss on our part. We accept that responsibility, and we'll do make sure that works next year. But yeah, again, the private beach, like, I don't know. We don't have any say on that. We don't have any responsibility or authority to do anything with that beach. Now, we all know to the east is the Walnut complex there, so we don't have to worry about that because you're going to look after that yourselves. To the west, though, is that great big long beautiful stretch, and that's where the issue lies. That needs to be figured out. So go ahead.
Hi there. My name's Lynn Bell. I guess I'm too close. Okay.
Your name?
Lynn Bell, and I'm from 11227 Long Beach. Pardon me? There we go. Anyway, I'm a third-generation cottage owner on the west side of that section we're talking about right now. I'm about halfway between the road allowance and Long Beach Resort. We encounter people parking at Long Beach Resort and walking our way, and people coming from the public access. So we get the blessing of both sides. It's very frustrating. I've heard numerous times you're stating that it's a private beach and the township only has responsibility for that 66 feet. And I respect that and I understand that. So now my question to you two is, as a property owner or of that 66 feet, could that fencing, just as on the east side there's a snow fence that goes out, I understand there one did get burnt, I understand that. But my problem when I see that is there was a snow fence that went all along the break wall, and there were signs that the township had put up that said, you know, private property beyond a certain point. But it was very unclear. If you went down the beach, it was very unclear where that section ended. So for the west side, people just went free for all. Like there's that nice snow fence along the break wall, but it looks like it's free for all this way, so we'll just go this way. I commend what happened on the east side, but I think it's a shared responsibility. If I own a property and I want to put a fence on the edge of it, I can, right? Yes. Well, why can't the township at the edge of the 66-foot road allowance put fence on both sides? If you go down to the area where it's public parking a little further down, I believe that's the region that owns that, I'm not the township. It's very clear there's a snow fence with that protrudes on both sides of the beach heading towards the water. It indicates very clearly. The signs were very similar to what the township did, your red signs, but they were at the end of the snow fence, and it was very clear, this is the perimeters, and people stayed within the perimeters. In all honesty, if I came from out of town and I came down there, I wouldn't have a clue where the edge was by those two signs on the west side that were just kind of haphazardly sticking in the sand. It didn't really mean anything to me. So I'm sure it didn't to someone who's just visiting the area. And I've been there, like I said, almost 60 years, and my family's been there over 100 years. So perhaps my suggestion for solutions is, one, that beautiful map that you showed in your presentation at the beginning be on a big sign at the lane access, and it explained very clearly, this is public access, this is the public access, and this is private. Just instead of us having to continuously police our land, it would be nice if people were educated before they came down. So if that type of sign, and my suggestion is the fencing on the west side and east side, whether it's a temporary, I don't know, it looks like it's just a temporary fence they put up each year and put the sign. I'm sure they have to take it down due to the water. I mean, the water would just rip that right up. By September or October, be gone. So that's my suggestion. I would like to see better signage there. My other suggestion is, obviously 66 feet cannot hold 10,000 people or 1,000 people. There is a limit. So this parking situation, I understand that the businesses feel they need. I was in the same situation. I don't know how many of you know this, but I did own Al's Miniature Golf years ago, up to 10 years ago. When I purchased the property, I was under the same problem where I was kind of forced to charge for parking in that parking lot, and I will explain why. It was inherited. The owner prior to us was selling parking, and at that time, when we purchased the property, the people, we started with the parking lot closed because we didn't like it, because we had cottages. So we started with it closed, and that didn't work out because then everyone would just park for the beach in front of the property, and then we had no parking for the golf or the snack bar. So we said, okay, how can we do this that it works out? We didn't like them not using the washroom, so we gave them washroom privileges. We said, if you pay for parking, it's $5, you get a free mini putt pass, and you get to use your washroom.
Okay, Lynn, thank you.
So maybe they could offer the washroom.
And that is, you hit on a number of points there. Fencing is something we have been discussing. As well, we're hoping that the efforts we're making in other areas with the NPCA will actually divert lots of people away from that spot once we get control of it. Again, it's a work in progress, and we're hoping that that's going to, as you mentioned about all the cars and people coming for 66 feet, once people get to know that there's only 66 feet there, then there's other options available, and we ask you now, point them down to the Conservation Authority areas now, if we can. So we're working on it, and we're hoping with the NPCA we can make some progress here on this, and because it's a bad spot, it's no doubt, and it's just not working the way it is. So, any comments? Anybody else?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the Long Beach Conservation Authority, NPCA, closed the public park for beaches to a limit of 50 people. That was it. They had, I don't know how many feet was on that map, but I went down there over and over and over again this summer. 50 people, that was it. They had parking for 300 cars, but that was their limit.
Okay.
So they weren't doing us any favors.
And with COVID, I mean, it's an exception obviously this year and quite possibly next summer as well. And it's, you know, it's obviously a different summer this year, and it could be a different summer next year as well. But this is an issue that spans before COVID and will span after COVID. So that's what the lens I'm looking at it through, is that lens as a bigger problem. And the spacing and all that sort of thing, it is what it is. Everybody's doing the best they can on that. But I'm looking at this beach issue as not just a COVID focus, but actually it's a bigger issue. We solve the bigger issue, the COVID part of it will resolve itself, I think. So, Lee.
Lee Bott. I live at 11775 Lakeshore Road, the Lakewood lady. I've lived at the Lakewood area for over 39 years. I've watched all this fun for years and years and years, and all the craziness, and this is the worst it's ever been. And Lakewood was being utilized because, hey, that's a public beach as far as everybody's concerned, and it's not. It's a private beach. It belongs to the developers. Not that I'm their buddies by any stretch of the imagination, but it is their beach.
Yes.
It is their property. And I canvassed a lot of my neighbors just to find out if it's just me that gets pissed off or if it's everybody else. And I guess I shouldn't have said that, sorry. But from what I've heard from my neighbors, I avoided the beach. I like to walk my dogs down that beach. I avoided it because it was always bedlam, and I'm not taking my dogs through the gambit. The few times I did go down there, I waited till I heard silence and then kind of checked around and saw if it was okay, and then walked my dogs. And that's basically what everybody in my neighborhood did. We bought property at the lake. We bought because we have access to that lake, to that beach, and none of us had that this year. And we had a lot, apparently the one weekend I was gone this year, all heck broke out, and apparently there were cars down every one of those lanes, Side Road 18, Dreamland, Summerland, all of those, they were parked in front of people's driveways. Nobody could get out. The people that lived there couldn't get to the beach. There were things going on that beach and on top of the property because, I'm sorry, but your bylaw officer apparently, and this, I didn't hear this is from my neighbors, told me that they told people, you can't park on the Casey Drain Laneway because that's township property. Park up on the property. That wasn't their property to say that to. As I said, I'm not friends of the Lakewood developers, but that is their property. It wasn't supposed to be a parking lot. It was a double-lane parking lot all summer long. I never complained because nobody listens to me anyways, so I just thought, whatever. And for the most part, it was beachy sounds, it was families. People were pretty good. We didn't have, it was amazing because normally it's like party central, drinking, smoking up, everything going on that beach, and it wasn't that way. But it was packed. None of the locals could use that beach, so we're paying really, really high taxes for our privilege of living at the beach, and we can't use that beach. But the out-of-towners can go down there. And I even listened, one night I had to go out on my deck to find out what was going on. My neighbor was walking his 3-year-old daughter in her stroller with his wife that he does every single night, goes down at supper time, walks up the beach. The bylaw officer, all I heard was cursing and swearing. I thought, what is going on? I looked out and the bylaw officer was screaming and cursing at this guy and his family. You're not allowed on that property. Meanwhile, there's double lanes of cars and he's not touching or talking to anybody. And that's been a common complaint with all of my neighbors. Why are the out-of-towners allowed on that beach? We live here and we're not allowed to go on that beach. A lot of people were told by the bylaw officer, you can't go on that beach. He goes, well, what about these people parked here? Oh,
Okay.
They're okay. That's wrong.
One minute.
That
And
was
do you have any
fast.
solutions?
Number one, don't be saying it's a public beach because it's not. It's a private beach, and respect that.
You're talking now about Lakewood.
Lakewood.
Okay.
And the NPCA property, that beach, that section is the most unusable section, so I can see why they're not making it a public beach, because it really isn't one. And it's also a swamp. That whole property is a swamp. And so it's not usable. So that's unfortunate, but they did sell it to the public as, oh, we're going to make a public beach, and they never did, and they never can, because it's not. It's not a usable beach. It's not feasible. There's no way. They would have to screw up the infrastructure and biodiversify, and that's not good. So I can see where their point is. But the point is that you have to start respecting the residents. You keep saying that it's everybody's right to go to the beach, but what about those of us who live there? That's not fair. We have rights too, and somehow that got lost in the whole shuffle of things.
Okay, thank you. The difference being, you know what's right and wrong, because you said yourself, you know it's not a public beach, and you know it's a private piece of property, so you can't go there. The people who do go there don't know that, and that's where that issue lies in, that requires us or the police or whoever. It actually requires the owner to speak to it, right? But you know better, everyone here knows better because you live there. And because you do have that extra knowledge, that's why you're not going down the beach, because you know it's private property. Where they don't know, and so they're going. So that's how that's working. So Lars, please.
Lars Biano, 10590 Lakeshore. Working together, I think is a great idea, but it's not just the public and council. It is, for example, the MPCA and council. My suggestion to relieve some of the issues of Augustine Beach is Reeves Bay, where the parking is used up. It looks like it's very busy on the beach. It's not. It's all in the quarry. If we can get parking on the south end, and I know, Councillor, you've talked about it, McClellan, on the south end of the quarry, that would alleviate some of the parking for the beach. And 6 years ago, I think it was, the MPCA had laid out a program for the quarry where they're going to put a beach on the north end where it's fairly flat. And with some parking up by Gord Harry, that would be a wonderful area and take some pressure off the beaches on the lake. And it was also add for parking for Gord Harry, which I know you've discussed as well. So if we can get some parking and cooperation from the MPCA, I think that would be fantastic.
Okay, thank you. And I will simply say to that excuse me, that we are working with the NPCA to address all our beach issues. So that's what we're doing. Hi, Carol. Okay, Carol.
Carol Nagy at 11321 Neff Street. Donna, I think this is for you and the MPCA. We've heard about all the beach problems. Please don't be mistaken that it wasn't happening at Morgan's Point also. So this is not just this year. We have cars that are parking used condoms weekly on the conservation area. They use it as places to defecate. We have toilet paper and Kleenexes. We have people smoking up in the conservation area, in the kids' playground. We have vehicles that are driving around on the beaches, particularly when there's nesting times. We have vehicles that are driving around on the conservation trails constantly. We love that park. It should be used by a lot of people. Birders come there every year, but it is becoming more and more problematic for the people that live in that area. There was a plan from the MPCA to start to develop some public spaces in that area that were absolutely ludicrous by the last leadership. So I hope that the MPCA plans to have a public meeting to talk about the proper use of a conservation area, as opposed to making it an offloading problem for what everybody else is experiencing, when you need a real problem for a real solution for these people, not just transporting the problem somewhere else. So thank you. I'd also like to bring up a question from another neighbor of mine, talking about there's no bylaws that are prohibiting horses from defecating and urinating in the public beach areas and also in the water. This is water that we're drawing to drink from our beach areas. So we're looking for a solution in order to make sure that our water that we're using for nourishment is actually clean. So one suggestion, I guess, there's horse diapers that they can wear, but making sure that that's not happening in any of our public beaches going forward. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've heard before about the horses, and that's a part of what we're going to work on over the winter here with everybody to try to come up with a solution for everyone. Mr. Goodwillie. Don't forget, we're looking for solutions because we have 18 people on Zoom yet. We've already knocked off an hour here. So I'd like to get to the Zoom people as well before it gets too late in the night. So Mr. Goodwillie, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. It's surprising to me that the police are not here tonight. The police are going to be the big solvers of the problem because the police can deal with issues on private property. The police services that we received this past year were nil, and we pay good tax money for that, and we object strenuously to the fact that there's no police presence to help us on our private property. A couple of weekends we had the council hired some people to patrol a beach, and it was a very useful effort. But until we get police presence there, anything we can do is negated. If it takes 2 to 3 hours for the police to respond, as it did in 2 cases that I was involved in this summer, it's useless. You have to get them involved, and you have to get them committed, and you have to educate them, because the problem is they don't know what the situation is, and they're being asked to monitor it and solve the problems that are there. I think that they should have been at this meeting, and at any future meeting I would hope that they would be there. The other thing, I wonder if we could go back to that slide that had the yellow strip for the beach on it. Yeah, that's one. Yeah, okay. So you see how that property is, the line is angled to the east, even encroaching on one person's front yard. The pathway down to the beach is almost diametrically opposite. So as you come down the pathway, you are led onto the west side of the beach. The pathway is part of the problem. And that could be very easily rectified if the fencing went all the way out to the road, and the pathway was made to angle to the parallel to the property line.
So you're speaking of a natural pathway made by people to get down to the beach.
Council put the footpath, the crossboards down there, the boardwalk. Yeah. But they put it this way, and the property goes this way. So the people, when they come off the boardwalk, are practically on private property, because that's where they're guided to go. So I think that would be, in addition to the police, would be a good thing. The other big thing you have to do is stop the people from coming. We have to find a way to keep them from coming to Long Beach. How did people in Toronto find out about this place? I live in Toronto, and I don't advertise this place because I like to have it kept as private as I can. But people in Toronto have found out about it. I know the Long Beach Resort people are from Toronto, and they're bringing people over from Toronto all the time, so that doesn't help the situation. But we have to, the Niagara region advertising, the Fort Erie advertising, the St. Catharines advertising, all has to stop talking about the beach at Long Beach. And you've got to get that through at region. That the problem is that when they talk about the beaches of South Niagara, Long Beach is one of the primary beaches that comes up. It's not a beach, as you know. It's a path. And I think that until we, excuse me, until we can stop the people from coming, we will always have this problem. And that's a long-term solution, but if we don't start it soon, the problem is going to get worse and worse. And it's going to be up to the private property owners to develop their own means of keeping people off the beach. And that may be what this comes to if we can't get help from council and the various governments. Just one other quick thing. I noticed that the Long Beach Resort people are charging for day trippers. Lakewood Camp developer could make some quick bucks if he took a hint from that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fisher, you've already spoken, so I want to get to the Zoom people first.
Can I just bring up a new thing?
I'm going to come back out after we talk to the Zoom people. If there's anyone else, and then I would like to move into the folks who are on Zoom standing there waiting. So go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you. Good evening. John Lamont, 12181 Augustine. I'm right at the public access. So when you come down, I'm the one right there on your left. Been there 11 years, seen things very poor, seen things work very well. Some of the things I'd put forward for solutions are things you've already considered. What Hugh was speaking about coordination with the police. We had that. April would come to our meetings. The association we have does work well when we can do it, we can get together. April would come, the sergeant would come, and we'd have a discussion. And with that was an appeal for some more policing attention. Part of that went from the committee back to the residents, who some like to, as they complained, but not be part of the solution. The sergeant was clear. If you want more police presence, it needs to be logged and we need to call. So I believe he was onto something with the police coordination that needs to take place, or we'd ask it would take place, and we would facilitate that with the committee meetings, with yourselves, and whoever's down at Port Colborne as a sergeant now. The other things that have worked very well over the years has been the signs. Whether it's been a Helen sign, the signs that you put up, I do think that that's part of the solution. For most of the residents that are there, someone said about hearing the beach noise, and I'm not trying to have it so we're just sitting in Muskoka in our own chair and have the entire beach, but being able to go and tap someone on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me, sir," or "Excuse me, son," as I can do now that I'm getting more gray hair. This is private. Can you have some respect? So the signs are great. The fences, the chatter I hear sitting there having a beer, listening to everyone chatter about it. Some like the snow fence, some don't. My personal opinion is it has worked well. As you come down from the very start of the road all the way down, your urination and your defecation is reduced significantly when someone wants to climb over a plastic or a wooden fence to get there. My last point is I do agree with what Hugh was saying about the 66 feet and the angle of it. I realize that you're limited, the council is, the town is limited by what they can put signage-wise. But I'll come back to my original point with the police and the council and the residents. I think if we got together with the residents that are in that area and talk through what collectively we think options could be for the fenceway. Hugh, it's not that it's my side yard, but there's an 80-foot maple that you need to get through to get your boardwalk down that way. But what I would appeal to is some consideration for common sense about the usage of the 66 feet. If you're going to sign it, and as residents we're going to try to police it, it's not utilizing near 66 feet of beachfront. So I'll come back again, some type of conversation about if we're agreeing to 66 feet and we're agreeing to signage and fencing, just where that would be, because I think there's a more practical way to have that. Makes sense for people that are coming down and use for the public.
Okay, thank you, John. Yeah, so I do want to speak just a second about the police. We did hire paid duty officers this summer. It's expensive, but things were so out of control that we knew we had to do something. We had them a couple of weekends, and they were dedicated to our beach areas, and they wrote tickets and were present. I believe that the Niagara Regional Police are putting in place a summer unit of officers who in the future years will be dedicated to the beach problems. However, that will be all the Niagara Beach problems. And don't forget, We only own a right-of-way there, not a beach. However, if there's lots of activity on that private beach by anybody, they will be able to look at it and see if there's any criminal offenses or provincial liquor offenses sort of thing. But that is potentially what's going to happen. We have met with the staff sergeant. We ourselves have met with the staff sergeant out of Port Colborne and addressed with him all the issues down at the beach. And actually he was excellent, and we had increased presence right away. Now, policing is an interesting job. Unless somebody's been murdered, stabbed, or there's a gun or something like that, when you pick up the phone to tell them somebody just peed on your beach, it isn't going to happen. Honestly, it's really not. They prioritize all the time. On an average shift in Port Colborne, there might only be 3, 4, or 5 officers working on a shift. Port Colborne is busy, and you get an impaired driver, you get a weapon offense, a domestic dispute, that's at least 2, 3 officers, plus all the paperwork. There's hours and hours. So my point is, you have to temper your expectations of the police being there within minutes with a strong dose of reality, and unless they just happen to be in between calls and are not far from you, yeah, they'll be there. But the reality of it is, unfortunately, there's just not enough police to be everywhere that you want them to be as quick as you want them to be. So, okay, no, you've had Mr. Goodwill. I want to hear from Neville. And Neville, you're up. I want to get to the Zoom people. So otherwise,
Hi, my name is Neville Kidd. I own property at 12190 Lakeshore Road in Wainfleet. Grew up in Fort Erie, lived down in Low Banks myself. This lake area is what brought me to the area. And the challenges that everyone is speaking of has been happening since the dawn of time, from Fort Erie straight out to Windsor. Any road allowance out to the lake has the same traffic. Now, of course, this year has been a little bit of an abnormality with COVID. I'm also the president of your Wainfleet Chamber of Commerce in Port Colborne. I'm a commercial business advisor as well. And I own concessions in Long Beach. I put my heart into the community. There's people in here that talk about me charging for parking and not being open. We lost multiple staff members that could not come back this year. We have CERB payments where you cannot find people to come out. We have a mother-in-law with COPD that cannot come and work. We both work full-time in order to support our business to bring opportunities to the area. And I think that's something that we tend to forget sometimes. My suggestion is we set up a BIA in the area, and I think council should pass this. And there's over 13 businesses in our area. There's 2 vacant businesses. We could bring security measures or things in place to help residents and issues that we're having. Jet skis. Everything comes back to the local business that rents them out, not the cottage owners that have multiple people on them, not the people that truck them in and come to the cottages that rent through the area. There's multiple people that are creating these infractions, not just the business owners who create the business and the people and the employment for our area, right? So we need to come up with solutions. What kind of solutions can the BIA bring? Maybe safety measures that go out into the water to show jet skiers not to come too close to the area. We could propose additional bathrooms to alleviate some of the defecation issues. These issues have been going on since I've been in this area. What is the solution? We get really pushback from the local residents, say they don't want any Johnny in the spots. Well, there's multiple people that rent cottages that come down, and then they can't make it back to their cottage, and they go wherever they go, right? It's issues in our parking lots, it's issues everywhere. So I think a very easy solution would be to set up a BIA. We would collect tax dollars as well as be able to get grants and resources from the government. Our business also put money forth and worked along with the town about 5 years ago on a business improvement to the lakeshore front area. And we talk about parking in our lots and whether it's legal or not. This has been going on since 1946. The town in 2013 used our parking lot and basically rented the parking lot, had a staffer on collecting parking as a revenue source for the town. And then we are trying to be told that we can't do this? Like, it just makes no sense. We don't have any extra parking to create more people coming into the area. The problem has been policing. There's been, one person in staff been able to be out there ticketing instead of 2 normally, because again, you run into the same problems as us with employment. It's not easy to get people through this COVID situation, right? So these are the challenges that's very unique this year, right? So just don't take a carte blanche diem. We have horse people talking about issues coming up to the waterfront. There's a lot of farm owners that own horses too, not just Horseplay Niagara, right? So a lot of the businesses try to be respectful, and we try to coach people and police it, but don't handcuff us from doing so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Neville. And so we've met with Neville and some of the business owners previously at the office. We had a discussion. I think a BIA is a good idea. We've already voiced that. Neville, as we said before, I look to our CAO who has worked on setting up BIAs before and can give information, and I'll just ask him to speak for a second about that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again, a BIA, for those who might not be familiar with them, is a sort of separate body that is created under the authority of the Municipal Act. And yes, it is something that a council puts the final approval on, but there are a whole bunch of steps that have to happen before it gets to council. And I think at this stage, the best thing that we could do is, so that we're not wasting everyone's time today, is that we can reach out or we can contact each other and perhaps set up an appointment over the coming weeks to run through sort of the processes, the sort of pre-work that needs to be done, and then once we reach a point where it's ready to go, then it can be brought forward to council. So we'll make that contact probably within the next. We'll reach out to you before the end of the week and set up an appointment.
And I think that, as we met before with you folks, that the BIA is a one step in the right direction to help everybody get on the same page. Remember at the start of the meeting I said there's a solution out there, but it's not perfect for anybody. But if it's close for a bunch of people, most of the people interested, then we're going to win. So a BIA to me is part of that, a step in the right direction. So yeah, please contact our office. Will has set up those before, or not set them up, but has had involvement in them and understands them. So I'll ask that you speak with him and he can deal with that. I'm sorry, Marianne, but yeah, it's not on the thing. Next speaker, 2 more speakers, and then I want to go to the Zoom people because they've been patiently waiting an hour and a half. So, okay, and okay, I'm going to cut it down then to 2. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down to 2-3 minutes, and I don't want to hear. I want to hear solutions. I want to hear ideas. Let's just, because we got 4 or 5 now and plus Zoom people, so I just want to give us a solution, what you think can help us get this fixed. Go ahead, name and address.
Karen Beaudry, 12128 Slater Road in Wainfleet. My family and I have been cottage property owners at Long Beach for over 20 years. I've seen a lot. Firstly, I want to thank Mayor Gibson and all the council members for understanding the need to address the beach problems at Long Beach and for their commitment to finding permanent solutions to the many issues. For decades, the same issues have been ongoing, with past governments putting only temporary Band-Aid solutions in place, if any. Secondly, I wish to address the daily beach parking at the 3 local businesses, which in my opinion is the #1 cause of the majority of the problems at Long Beach at Augustine Road, which is actually Long Beach access. It is not a beach. It is a road allowance access. Mm-hmm. I would like to give you all a reasonable estimate of the number of vehicles that can be parked daily at these businesses. Concessi store can park approximately 50 vehicles, give or take. 905 Rentals, another 50 vehicles. These are large properties. The Hungry Putter, smaller, 25 vehicles. Total, 125 vehicles per day. 125 vehicles times an average of 3 people per vehicle. And I repeat, an average. 375 people, just from vehicles. Is it reasonable to assume that 375 people will obey the signage at the Augustine Road allowance and remain on the 66 feet of public area on the beach? I am one of many residents that are witness to the answer to that question, which is, of course, no. A capacity limit and security are needed at this public road allowance area. The third, vehicle traffic access at the access area. Before people park at the 3 local businesses, they drive up Augustine Road and park illegally on the road at the access as early as 8 a.m. They unload tents, barbecues, tables, large coolers, dogs, etc., and bring them all down to the beach. This makes the beach look very much like a campground. It is not unusual to see and hear several vehicles all parked illegally at the road allowance access at the same time, blocking both pedestrian and local traffic. A repeat of this happens at the end of the day, and when so many vehicles once again park illegally on Augustine Road access and load up their beach items to leave for the day. They do, however, remember to leave their various garbage items.
Okay, thank you, Karen. That's we've heard that, and we're well aware of that. That's the 3 minutes.
I just have my solution here, just 2 sentences.
Well,
perhaps,
30 seconds.
Perhaps this Augustine Road access area should have daily security and or be blocked off to vehicle traffic during the peak summer season and only open to pedestrian and non-motorized traffic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At 3 minutes, at 2 minutes, I'll give you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, my name is Brian Grant. I own the property at 12180 Lakeshore Road, also known as 905 Rentals. I'm the owner of 905 Rentals. I just want to speak as part of the safety on the beach. A lot of the issues that go on are not necessarily our sea-doos. I am out there countlessly. Anybody that lives on the beach knows that I'm out there screaming, hollering at anybody that is disobeying any of those rules. When it comes to as far as being too close to shore, my anchors that I set my skis with are more than 100 feet from shore just to begin with, and all my renters are told to stay at least 1 kilometer from shore at all times. As far as how can we prevent other sea-doos, not just my own, from coming into those areas, I think we need to maybe look at swim lines like Crystal Beach, Port Dover, or possibly buoys out there. As far as defecating on private property, the issue is always going to be the same. If you don't have a bathroom at the top of that beach, people are going to use people's private property. That's all I need to say.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Marianne, you have 3 minutes.
Hey, hello, I'm Marianne Kidd. I also own Concessis. I'm here to present some solutions. I mean, we also deal with a lot of these different issues at our businesses, and we don't like it either. Solutions include when we entered the Long Beach community, we want it to be a positive thing. I don't think it's a bad thing that people want to go to the beach. I think that that's something that we should embrace. All the businesses in the Lakeshore area are tourism-based businesses. Most of us close down in the winter time and do not operate, so I think we need to embrace that for the long term. I think that we could remove the snow fences at the beach and maybe put up something nicer that would be more appealing to the eye, like wooden posts or nice nautical roping, something like that. I believe that the pickup drop-off zone should be legal. I think that we should be able to provide a place for people to drop off their items when they want to go to the beach. I do also agree with a porta potty being added at the top of that beach access to prevent people from defecating and using that on other people's properties. We also would like to see more lighting in the area on the Lakeshore Road, and that's something that I think if we established a business improvement area where we had funding and things, we could work together to get some of these initiatives in place, including maybe beach cleanup crews, even possibly hiring somebody part-time in the summer. Our businesses could pool together and have somebody go down and help clean, or even help, call bylaw if something's going on. Also, I just want to say that 905 Rentals has had cease and desists and, all kinds of parking tickets. And I don't think it's right that we're not supporting our businesses, especially during this COVID era. You see the other municipalities closing down roads and doing things for the businesses. And we're just trying to, as Mr. Goodwillie puts it, we don't want anybody to come here. And, we've invested into this community, and our businesses employ, over 35 people every summer. And I don't think it's fair that, we're just forgetting about all that. And, the beaches are also accessible to other people in Wainfleet, in Welland, in parts of, Lincoln. They don't have access to a beach. So we should have that open to the public so that they can use it. And the only people, just to make this clear, on the right or the left side of the beach who actually can call the police on these people is the J.W. Augustine Trust or Pegasus Construction Corporation, because that's the private property owners. It's not even the people who are just right there. As this gentleman alluded to, the whole interior of Walnut Hill actually has rights built right into their deeds that they can access the water. It doesn't mean those lakefront owners own it. They can't put a shed, they can't put a boat, so we need to make sure that that's kept public. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So just on that point, you mentioned who owns the beach to the west. And legally and technically, everybody who's on that west beach west of our 66 feet is trespassing, period. Unless they have permission from the owners of that beach, which includes the residents, which includes everybody. Seems to me it would make sense to have a conversation with the owner of that beach. Doesn't it? Isn't that sort of a no-brainer in my mind? The person who owns the beach is the person you have to speak to move forward with control of that beach, so that there's regulations in place or whatever. That person, that company might just say, no, everybody stay off my beach, period. Or they might say, sure, we'll work a deal with you guys. We'll take a percent. You can do this, this, and this, and allow this. Who knows? But to me, if you don't talk to the owner of the land, nobody can go on private property, right? And without landowner permission. So that, to me, just seems like a step one here in starting to figure out how to address this. We know who the owner to the east is. It's the Walnut little setup there, all the housing in that area. We know that they have control of it, deeded. And the west end, we know there's an owner. So to me, step one is get a hold of the owner, find out what you can do there, and then get together as a group and talk to the owner and figure it all out. That's the real solution here, folks. That is the real solution. Because remember, our 66 feet is our 66 feet, period. And the real issue is everything that's happening on the other side of that 66 feet. So on that private land. So it's really there that you have to start. So to me, that's step one. Go ahead, you have 3 minutes at the most.
Connie Perry, I live at 12153 Augustine Road.
Yeah,
sorry. Connie Perry, I live at 12153 Augustine Road. I think a lot of what my feelings have already been expressed, but I think that one thing that hasn't been talked about is zoning issues. Like as far as like the zoning for parking is a big issue to me, because I can't go and start charging on my property. I think people would complain if I started charging. So why is that different for other people? I also have a big issue with tents being allowed on the beach. Other beaches do not allow tents. This summer there have been tents like crazy, and they put flaps down on two sides. and then they just have their little 10 by 10 foot area, and that's their area, and that's not right. I think that I'm totally against porta potties being put at the top of the lane. We had that one year, and the porta potties wound up in the lake because kids put them in the lake at night, and it made it worse. Like it just, so then all that was just dumped at once. I think the laneway as it has been signed is, in my knowledge and what common sense says, I know that I've seen the way that the angle that the land is at, but I do think that common sense says your own walkway goes straight, and the first sign that you put up was on the west side is in the right spot, and then the next sign is right in the middle of the fire lane, like right in the middle of where people walk down, so that half of that fire lane is now private property. That's always been the way people used it. And I mean, I know that
we actually had that surveyed, I believe, because we wanted to make sure that we had the signs in the right spot. So we actually hired a surveyor, came in, surveyed our 66 feet, and we put those signs on the edge of both our pieces of property, on each edge. So,
well, I do know from past experience that there have been surveys in this area that have been done wrong. So that's my only comment about that. Like, but it's
30 seconds left, Connie.
It is, you have to do something to limit the numbers. I think that other beaches, we can't have 1,000 people on 66 feet. You cannot have on your website that it's a Long Beach, Augustine Road Beach, which is a made-up thing. It was never called Augustine Road Beach. Was on your website. I don't know if it still is on there or not. I hope not. But it was on the website as a public beach, listed under beaches. That's part of our problem. Like, you're inviting people to come that we don't have room for. Like, that beach should be for Niagara Regional residents.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to move in just to the Zoom people. I would encourage them and ask them to not go over everything that we've already heard. We're looking for solutions, ideas of what to do. We've heard some great ideas here tonight. And we're going to sit there, we'll collate all this and take a look at it. And we're going to work on this over the winter. But please, the Zoom folks, I'm going to limit you to 3-4 minutes, and please speak to new issues or new ideas, solutions, as opposed to just, we're well aware of all the things that have happened this last summer. So I'll ask that of those folks, so we can begin there. Name and where you live, please. Pardon me? Okay, Sandra, you're the first hand up.
Sandra, if you could please unmute your microphone and activate your video, and you're good to speak now.
Hi there. This is Sandra, but I did not want to speak. I actually was just trying to say at the beginning of the meeting that the voice was cutting out, and then I just touched that to see if it would work, but then I realized that putting my hand up wasn't
thank you,
appropriate.
Sandra. That's new information right there. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you very much, Sandra. We'll move on to the next person, please. Who is it? Sue? Sue, would you put your camera on and and unmute your mic?
Hi. I would like to thank the council for the opportunity to present tonight. My name is Sue Galbo. My address is 11157 Crego Road, Akron, New York. Our families have owned property since 1942 across from the Cove, and now we're into our 5th generation. I really did have a little bit of a different presentation tonight. I was unaware of what you were looking for, so I apologize about that. So as I was listening to all the different presentations people had and the problems. We've all been living these problems for a long time. And so I'm not even going to bring up any of that. But as I listened, a couple things kind of bubbled to the surface that just really struck me about everything that was being said. And two things that came to my attention were education and police presence. Now, we had a lot of ideas about the education part of it and a lot of ideas about police presence and the difficulties with all of that. But I guess what I was just jotting here was, as far as solutions, education, you know, there's nothing better than education. So I was thinking just education by signage and constant signage on the roads and in appropriate spots, and constant publications regarding private and public beaches and available public parking for those public beaches out to the community. And also, I don't know anything about police funding and such, but it's just funding the police to support property owners, especially in peak months, seem to be something that really is a top priority. Historically, there has been a significant lack of police presence to help with issues on land and water. So really, that's all I have to say from everything I've heard and thought about. But solutions would be law enforcement and constant community education. So,
okay.
I want to thank you for your time and have a nice rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, Sue.
Okay, we're done.
Okay, who's next? Huh? Okay, now we move to Marcia Splitter, please. You have 3-4 minutes, Marcia. If you can do your camera and your mic, please.
Yeah. Hang on. I'm not real good with this. Hi. Good evening. I'm Marcia Spittler, and I live in Buffalo, New York, and my family owns property at 12247 and 12249 Lakeshore Road. And this is a question I have. What does VIA mean? I'm an American. I don't know what it means. You can tell me that later. But I'm so appreciative that you have provided the owners of properties in Long Beach for the opportunity to express our concerns in regard to this past summer. There are a number of questions that the members of my family have related to our properties, as well as to our wonderful Canadian neighbors, Mr. Goodwillie, to be explicit, and Americans. My grandparents bought our cottage in the late 1940s, and since that time, we have been residents up there forever. I won't tell you how old I am, but I've been up there for a really long time. I started going up when I was 9 months old.
So Marcia,
yes.
If I can interrupt for a sec, you only have 3 minutes, so if you want to really get to the point, that's probably a great idea.
My first point is that I know many people have talked about it. My one thing is, with that public beach area at Augustine Road, there are no facilities for visitors, and we know that's a problem, and that has been mentioned before. My other thing is, I'm a little confused. I believe that there is a public beach down Lakeshore Road. We used to call it Furries, and I know people use it, but I never see any signage that tells people that that property is there. And I might be missing something, but that's one thing that I think we need to make publicized more, in addition to the conservation part. Thank you so much for your time and your consideration, and to look into these requests, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much, Marcia.
Okay.
Where's Furry Beach?
And just for the members in the audience, a BIA is a business improvement area, and it's an area of commercial properties that are sort of formed together as a group to sort of undertake various projects and initiatives to improve the area and make it more attractive, make it more safe, make it more palatable to the people who visit, who live there, that sort of thing.
Okay, there's nobody else queued up. On the Zoom first, please. Zoom, any more people wish to speak? Okay, no more hands are raised on the Zoom. If you do want to speak, you did have to raise your hand. So in the interest of efficiency, we'll go back to this group for a minute. People who haven't spoken first. We'll do a few more there because maybe some questions have arisen from the Zoom folks. And we'll go from there.
Hi, Judy Warren, 12119 Walnut Hill Road. I'm on the beach a lot, or I drop in and I take a look and see how things are going. Number one, to help solve this problem, we're really only looking at 10 days of 1,000 people, and we're looking at 10 days with 500 people. 300 people is perfect. I was asked to measure for Environment Canada for the algae bloom, and so I measure, and our 66 feet in September is 66 feet wide, and the depth, so when you walk out to the lake, it was 100 feet, okay? That's the lowest we've seen in 2 years, because we never see the rocks. The rocks are where people die. We have seen zero. Your count, you gave us trauma this year, folks. Whoever invited these people, there was trauma. There was trauma on the beach, there's PSTD. People don't want to come to the beach because they don't want to see people drown. So businesses and mayor, and we've been so good on the beach. We've been so good on the beach. We've saved people's lives. We've helped them. And I want next year to be 0 lives lost as well. We do have, okay. So I wanted to talk about Mother Nature because out of the 10 days that we had 1,000 people, most of those people are now going to be staying here because we have B&Bs and we have the condos and we have the businesses and 905. They have places for people to stay overnight. So we're only looking at the dailies. And so if we can limit the dailies to 30 cars daily. And I'm going to get to Mother Nature in a minute. So could we use that walkway as a promenade? I love seeing kids walk the beach. I love seeing people just parking their car, pay their money, whatever, 3-hour visit. A promenade means a leisurely walk. So you can swim, you can wade, you can walk the shoreline. And then you get an ice cream cone, or you go to Concessi's, or you do what we want the people on the beach, which I call the Augustine neighborhood, because we're not all paying into the Long Homeowners Association. But I want, okay, 30 seconds. Okay, Mother Nature. Out of those 10 days, there were policemen there, and it was pouring rain. Where Margaret had her sign, that was where the water, so we're not talking 100 feet, we're talking 50 feet. To get to water. So Mother Nature rules. So you have police on the beach who are saying, there ain't nobody here. That's because you got to check the weather first. So when you come to the beach, you check the weather. Like Jeanette said, if the kites are flying, you are not going into the waves. And if you are going into the waves, you're visiting 905.
Okay,
because there's life jackets.
Thank you, Connie. One of the things with the police is they require the paid duty that we hired require it's like 3 days advance. We have to book them and they have to do their all that. So we looked at the weather. We didn't just throw the dart. We looked at the weather. Saturday's going to be hot. Sunday could be hot. We'll hire them for both days. So we enter into that contract with them and they are hired. So if it pours rain all day, oh well. There goes our taxpayers' money, unfortunately, and we're not really getting too much out of it. So that's how that happens. We look at the weather, we take our best guess, And in a couple of times we hired them on a Saturday, not a Sunday. One of the long weekends, I think we only hired them for Monday, I think it was, because it poured the other 2 days. So, but once they're hired, they're there whether it makes sense or not. So that's how that works with the paid duty. So, and yeah. Okay, so anybody else? We'll give one more chance. Larry, come on up. Yeah, I think you had one more little point to make. Something new, please.
Yes, there's going down to the beach and going to the left. We always told our kids not to go that way because of the current. I'm just wondering, because of the dangerous undercurrent, has there ever been any studies done to see how they can eliminate that? Because I understand the water comes in, goes around the rock ledge and back out, causing the draft, I guess, or the pulling under.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever asked anyone to help us to see how we can eliminate that?
Gee, you're really trying to change Mother Nature there. I don't think that we haven't done anything. I'm not aware of anything. That's a massive, yeah.
It's a southwest wind. You're going to get winds from the south and the west. That's when it cools down.
Okay.
North?
But there's been no study, I'm sure there hasn't been a study done in regards to changing the undertow. So, okay, so I think we're finished for tonight. It's 2 hours. So one of the takeaways I want you to know is, and we all saw it, I saw heads shaken various times about when different speakers were speaking, there's many points of view, right? There are many points of view. And one of the most important things that we have to do is understand that, and we got to come together and try to figure it out. Because if we're all opposed to each other, nothing's going to get done. We'll put up snow fence or whatever, it'll get torn down, burned again, and the problems will carry on and continue. We have to, and I remember at the start I said everybody's going to have to give a little bit here to reach a solution in the middle somewhere. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. And so we're going to sit and look at what we have to do for our 66 feet and what we can do. We've had a lot of good suggestions here tonight. We'll look at that, see what we can do. I strongly urge you to explore that private property beach owner company to the west. I mean, they're really the secret to fixing your problem. And we'll go from there. And we can all work together. I like the idea of the BIA because I've worked with BIAs before, and they bring groups like this together and they work out solutions, and it's in everybody's interest. So I do like that idea. That's just one component of trying to get this fixed. We're going to meet here. I'll be working with the CAO and staff on this, and we'll try to get some solutions, put it to council, we'll discuss it, and go from there. So I really want to thank everyone for coming out. This is a very important meeting tonight. We don't want to have to do as much work as we did this summer, next summer. We spent a lot of time trying to fix this problem this year, so I'd love for it to be fixed for next year. Let's hope, but we have to work together. So thank you very much. Have to actually officially adjourn the meeting. All in favor of adjourning the meeting, and that is carried. Thank you.